guys, it's Lindsay. This is Perfectly Bookish, and this is my January wrap-up. I had a great start to 2021. I ended up reading 14 books. The first book I listened to this month is a Land of Stories novel. It is the second book in the series, The Enchantress Returns by Chris Colfer. I also own this book, but I decided to listen to the audio version. So I still count that as a win because it was a book on my shelf, and a goal this year for me is to read more from the books that are already on my shelves. But I gave this book 3 stars. If you don't know, this series follows 2 twins fall into a book of fairy tales and they find out some family secrets. The first book better because you're getting the magic and the world building. It's setting the tone for the series. And in the second book, I felt that some of it was the same old stuff you got from the first book, and the ending though is something that has me curious about how things are gonna turn out as the series continues. So overall I thought it was okay. I really enjoyed the first book with all the different fairy tale characters, the twists that were put on those characters, so I just wanted a little more oomph when continuing the series. The next book I listened to was Breathe by Abby Glines, the first of her Seabreeze series. I gave this book 4 stars. It follows a girl who lives with her mother. Her mother's pregnant, and really she's kind of the adult in the family. Her mother just decides one day she's not going to this new job. She's just too pregnant and doesn't want to go. And the daughter takes responsibility, realizes the family needs an income, and she goes to the house where she thinks she's just going to be cleaning and tending to it over the summer, but the people are hesitant to let her work there because it turns out it is the home of a pop star, and they don't want a teenage girl like, oh my goodness, swooning over this rock star, but she keeps it very professional, and the star is the one who starts initiating things, and they start to form a relationship. And I really enjoyed this story. I thought it was a good read. I just had a problem with how fast some of the I love yous were thrown around, and the problem you get at the end of the story, I just think our male lead just kind of gives up right away instead of tries to work things through. But overall I thought was a good story and a good summer romance. The next book I read was an ebook. It was Castronauts Mission to Mars by Drew Brockington. It is a graphic novel series for the younger readers. I gave this book 4 stars. It is about 4 cats. They are the Castronauts, and they are cat astronauts. They are going into space, and they try, well, in this book they are competing against other castronauts to get to Mars, and something happens on the mission, and it was just good seeing all the cats come together and help each other out. So it's a good lesson for the kids who the books are meant for, but I liked it as well. Then I listened to Legendborn by Tracy Deonn. Started reading this, and I realized I had to be in a certain mindset that I just wasn't in when I started it, so I thought I'd try the audiobook. In this book, Bree's mother dies, and before her mom died, they were having a fight because she got accepted into this program. It's like a pre-college program, but she gets to stay on campus and experience the college life, and her mom didn't want her to go there. Once Bree gets there, she quickly realizes that some things are different, like that shouldn't be happening, and there's some mysteries about the school and different people that she meets. And there's Legendborn, there's Shadowborn, and the world itself is really interesting, but I did get a little confused trying to understand some of it. That's why I gave it 3 stars. It's just, there's a lot going on, and this does pertain a little bit to King Arthur and that story, so that was neat that it was tied into here. I mean, I like the characters, but like I said, I just got a little confused, and I think I might have to go back and explore some parts again to really get the gist of the whole world and everything going on. Then I read the ebook We Free the Stars by Hafsa Fazil. I'm sorry, I don't think I'm saying that right. I won in ARC. This is the second and last book. It's a duology. There is a girl. She is a huntress, but she has to hide that fact because that's not something that girls do. And she goes on this journey because her family and the people of her village, they're starving, and the ruler is just not really a good person, not helping out, and a lot happens on this journey that she's on. So in this second book, they have to try to solve the problem that is created at the end of the first book, which I don't want to say too much on that because that will be giving things away, but I thought this book had a lot of character growth, and one thing I really appreciated was the last few chapters of the book actually felt really meaningful because they did a good wrap up with some of the main characters. It just wasn't a quick epilogue of, oh, boom, here's everything crammed in one short little epilogue chapter. No, they got to wrap up each person that was really important in the story, and I appreciated that. It wasn't quick, and you just really got to take in the ending and the wrap up of the duology. So like I said, a lot of character growth. There's some good adventure and battles in the book, and I just really enjoyed the read. I gave it 4 stars. Then I listened to Grown by Tiffany D. Jackson. I gave this book 4 stars. Grown is about a girl enchanted who wants to be a singer. She goes to a contest. She catches the eye of a guy named Corey who is big in the industry already. He is older. He promises her that he can help her career and that she needs to come tour with him and live with him. But he does a lot of things to her and manipulating Enchanted. She doesn't want to say anything because she doesn't want to jeopardize her career before it even starts. There are some trigger warnings in this book, so if you are deciding to read it, please do some research on all the trigger warnings before you do read it. The mistreatment that happens to Enchanted is just makes you angry while you're reading the book. I am happy with how a situation is handled in the book to help out Enchanted, and it's just sad that all these people around Corey, they just don't say anything because of the status that he has, and there's a lot of lessons in this book, a lot of learning. You're gonna feel angry while reading it, but it is a worthwhile read for sure. Then I finished The Odd Sisters by Serena Valentino. This is the 6th book in the series. This series is a villain series. You're following all the Disney villains. This was my 2nd favorite read of the month. So this book doesn't totally follow the Disney villains that you know. The Odd Sisters are 3 sisters that you get throughout the whole series, and I really enjoyed this one. It's probably my favorite of the series right now too, because it just explains so much of why the Odd Sisters are the way that they are. You get a lot of background information on them, and it kind of wraps up everything you've been reading so far, and because it has a good wrap to it, I'm interested to see how the series will continue. But I really enjoyed it. Odd Sisters, 5-star read. I listened to Bird Box by Josh Malerman. This is the book where we get the adaptation of the Netflix movie with Sandra Bullock, and I gave this 4 stars. I really enjoyed both the movie and the book. Now I know I'm a little late to the game, but my mom and I ended up watching Bird Box on Netflix in December, and there's changes between the book and the movie, like every book to movie adaptation, but I didn't mind the certain changes or things that were left out. I thought each did the story justice in its own way. If you don't know the story, what happens in Bird Box is all of a sudden there is like a being, but you can't see it, that I don't know how to say this, because if you look at it, you go mad, but you can't even see it coming. So it gets you in the mind, and you hurt others, or you start committing suicide. So everyone has to stay inside, board up the windows, make sure nothing can see in, you can't see out, and if you do travel outside, you have to wear a blindfold, which makes things tricky. Children are raised, and it's interesting because the book tells more of the process of raising the children and the different adaptations that have to be made while you're raising children in these crazy times. So I appreciated that. And the movie, you stay with more people longer than you do in the book. People die off faster. And there is some back and forth between the past and the present, and I think in both the movie and the book that it is done really well. There's a good flow there. That's what I'm looking for. A good flow with the past and present. It was 4 stars for me. Then I read the ebook Castronaut Space Station Situation. Again, that's by Drew Brockington. I gave it 2 stars because there is a situation that happens, like stated in the title, and I don't like how it's handled, especially how the president handles a situation. He's not concerned about his citizens that are in space with what's going on. It's like, oh, it's just a presidential year, let's sweep it under the rug. I just didn't like how things were treated, where the last book had good lessons for the kids about teamwork, and this one is just like yourself is number one. Worry about you and not helping others. So I just didn't like the message in the book. Then I listened to A Deadly Education by Naomi Novik. This I gave 3 stars. It is about magical people, and the kids, once they are a certain age, can go to a magical school, but it is a very dangerous school. You're kind of learning on your own, and you always have to walk in pairs because there's creatures and other dangerous things that are lurking at the school. You can't even shower without worrying about getting killed. Lots of kids who go to this school do end up dying before they even graduate. So there is just a lot going on, and not only are you trying to gain an education, become more powerful in your craft, you're also trying not to die. And I thought the story was okay. It didn't wow me, and I really don't like the main character. She's okay, I couldn't connect with her, just because for me the story was okay and I just couldn't connect with the characters. That's why I gave it 3 stars. Coming up is my favorite book of the month, and that is From Blood and Ash by Jennifer Armentrout. This book follows Poppy. She is the chosen, she is the maiden, and she has a job to be this perfect person because she has to be found worthy of the gods. She wears all white and she has to wear a veil. There is an ascension process that some people go through. Like, there's a job for where you fall in line for what kid you are. the higher up children get to ascend, and then you go to those who follow the family business. The third and fourth children, they are given to the gods. And there's just a lot going on throughout the whole book. I wanted to know what the ascension process was and who these ascended are, and the book keeps you on the hook. You find it out, but it takes you a long time to find out. Our male lead is Hawk. He is a guard, and he intrigues Poppy because she can't do anything. She does break the rules, but part of her breaking the rules is she wants to live her life. There's a lot of action in this book. There are Craven, who are wolf-like creatures. There was a War of the Kings. So we have Poppy's land, where she's from, and then we have the Atlanteans, which they're told they're so awful. There are some people that are the dissenters who believe what the people are doing in their own town aren't really doing things for good. Like, they haven't seen their third and fourth children. If they're really just in the temple helping out the gods, why can't they visit them? They think there is some bad, shady stuff going on, and that the true ruler is in Atlantean. Poppy's 19th birthday is when she ascends, and there is so much going on, and the dissenters, Atlanteans, they want to stop her ascension. So there's a lot of action, and the only thing that I had a little bit of a problem with in the book is how Poppy feels after she learns a certain something. I just don't think that is a typical reaction for what she learns, but I am really curious to find out what happens next, because the book ends on an interesting note. Jen is famous for doing that in her books. Yes, this was my favorite read in January. Next, I read Muted by Tammy Charles, and this book, the best way I can describe it quickly is it's just like Grown. I gave it 3.5 stars. It is written in verse that I enjoyed, but where Grown, I felt the emotion from the characters. I just didn't really get that in this book. I just felt so much more while reading Grown. Same concept, except it's a girl group who wants to be famous, and they are manipulated by someone in the industry as well. The ending did have a twist that I did not see coming, so I appreciate that, but I think it's definitely worth the read because it has a strong message. This was good. I just feel Grown took it to the next steps. The last two reads of the month were The Duke and I by Julia Quinn and The Duke and I, the second epilogue. So I binge watched the Bridgerton Netflix series this month, and then I was curious about the book. So I had the audiobook available to me, and I gave the book itself 3 stars and the epilogue 1 star. I enjoyed the series a lot more than I did the book. I feel the characters in the book aren't as likable as they are in the show. Like the mother, for example. I couldn't stand her in the book. And is one of the nagging mothers in the book, and in the movie I just feel like she's so much more of a concerned, caring mom in the movie, and she's really trying to help her daughter and not overstep like she does in the book. And there are other characters as well I just didn't like as much as I do in the movie. There were parts for me where the story does drag on a bit. There are some situations that are changed up, and I just like how some things take place in the movie better than I do the book. And the reason why I didn't like the second epilogue is because it gives something away. And I mean, it's 1.5 listed on Goodreads. It's a second epilogue, and it just gives something away with the other Bridgerton siblings. A little disappointed in that, and the information that they give you, I just didn't think the second epilogue was necessary. That is my January wrap up. It was an excellent start off to 2021 reading for me. 14 is amazing. Sherman is coming to help sign off. Let me know what your favorite read of January was and how you did for this reading month. Remember to do what makes you happy and read on. Bye! Say bye, Sherm!